I am not right all the time. But I will tell you that my takes do come from a place of knowledge, education, and belief. And there are two of my previously, by some people's estimation, incendiary takes, right? Incendiary takes that have proven to be correct over the past week. Now, there's something else that happened this week, which I don't need pats on the back, but I've never, ever felt like anything I've said or done or how I feel inside my heart, no one who knows me would ever think that I'm a racist. But our colleague at Fox Sports, Nick Wright, essentially labeled me and some others as such because I have been what I believe is a truth teller about Eric Bieniemy and why he never got a position as head coach in the National Football League. If you're listening to the show, and you've been listening to the show for years, we've been doing it for over 20 years, I've always been somebody who have said, like, when I hear something that I know to be true or believe to be true and have enough people, I've shared it with you. It's not from any place other than what I know or believe or been told to be true. And the thing that's always bothered me is when others in our business get in positions of some sort of power, and when they're researching or when they're thinking of a take and they could research it and find out the realities to it, they instead go with their feelings or talk to their boys. It becomes an echo chamber. And that's the take that they have. Case in point, Eric Bieniemy. Okay. Jay Stu, you've been with me throughout this entire thing, right? Take me back to the Eric Bieniemy discussion.
Well, the Eric Bieniemy discussion that we've been having for, 2 or 3 years now, is that there were a select few people with blue check marks on Twitter, former Twitter, that claimed that Eric Bieniemy had not been given a head coaching job because of the color of his skin. Nick Wright just this week, amid Eric Bieniemy parting ways with the UCLA, he writes this on his Twitter account. The worst people on the internet are singling out and attacking Mina Kimes as the one person who was calling out the league for Bieniemy not getting a head coaching shot years ago, as if many of us weren't saying the same things. So here's the clip from the same time frame. For what it's worth, I stand by all of this today. And the only addition I would make is that the one white offensive coordinator I listed who didn't get the head coaching job, Brian Callahan, did get a job. Now, Doug, let's just play a little bit from Nick Wright 2 or 3 years ago.
I understand there are some people in the audience that are far, far more bothered by accusations of race playing a factor in things than they are by actual racism. And that's pretty bothersome. But let me just give you the facts here. He can't get the job because Andy Reid, and everybody knows Andy Reid calls the plays. Well, that didn't hurt Matt Nagy. Right. That didn't hurt Doug Peterson. That didn't hurt Andy's last offensive coordinator in Philly. So what do offensive coordinators of Super Bowl teams do? Well, the Chiefs have been a contender for 5 years, so let's use that sample. 2018 Super Bowl, Patriots, Rams. Well, Zach Taylor went from that job to a head coaching job, and Josh McDaniel now has a coaching job. What about Kansas City, San Francisco? Well, that was Eric Bieniemy, and Mike McDaniel was the lead guy in San Francisco. He now has a head coaching job. Now, to be fair, Mike McDaniel's biracial, but I'm not sure people knew that until after he got the job, and he certainly, I don't think, dealt with the assumed, if we're being honest here, a lot of the problem is a lot of the white decision makers don't think the black guy interviewing for the job is quite smart enough to get the job. I don't know if Mike had to deal with that. Next Super Bowl is Kansas City, Tampa. Neither one of those guys, offensive coordinators, have head coaching jobs. They are Eric Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich. Eric just had to leave his job. Byron just got fired from his. The next one is Cincinnati and the Rams. Now, Callahan hasn't gotten a job yet, but it looked like he was very close this offseason. Kevin O'Connell, of course, does have a job. And then the Super Bowl again, we have Eric Bieniemy and Shane Steichen. Eric Bieniemy now has had to leave to go get a chance, and Shane Steichen, of course, has a job.
Okay, first thing is, there's a curious omission there. What is the curious omission? And again, that was from a couple of years ago, right? What was curiously omitted was Eric Bieniemy was reportedly the offensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs allowed him to go to the exact same position with the Washington Commanders. Wait, what? Yeah. He failed to mention that Andy Reid, okay, who some people believe is now creeping closer, and there are some who believe he's past Bill Belichick in terms of the greatest coaches ever, could have easily kept Eric Bieniemy. Right? I mean, listen, you can buy the whole, like, he had to get out of the nest to spread his wings and call plays. But if they really, 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 really valued him, he would be the head coach in waiting. First thing is here's one thing that is not reported. We act like offensive coordinator in the National Football League is like you're making 15 cents an hour. Like you're making upwards of $3 or $4 million a year. It's an unbelievable position. Okay? He didn't really get along with Mahomes. He wasn't beloved. And whatever you think of Matt Nagy and what happened with the Chicago Bears, by most people's estimation, he is more likely to be the next head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs than Eric Bieniemy or than anybody else. Right? Isn't Spagnuolo their defensive coordinator? He's a former head coach as well. Right? So, I mean, look, the first thing is, also should be mentioned, getting a head coaching job is really, really hard. Really hard. Really hard. But the most bothersome part about it is, well, there's 2 or 3 levels. One, like, Nick is talking about, like, the most, not all, white owners, GMs think the black guy's not smart enough. Who? Name them. Name them. I just, again, there's this narrative out there which is so far from the truth about whether or not owners want a black head coach to be around to introduce. That doesn't matter. I would concede that there are boosters in colleges that want to have a guy they feel like they can have beers with, they feel like they can hang around, and maybe that has led some black coaches to not getting a job. I would say there's also an equal number of places where they're like, look, we got to break through this glass ceiling and we need to hire a minority head coach just because we haven't before and give new people opportunities. I would say those numbers actually probably cross each other out, and there's probably more in the latter than there is the former. But the NFL, and I know this because I've done what you're supposed to do in this job. And look, I'm not perfect at it. I've talked to people and come up with opinions and shared them, and some of them have been wrong. But it comes from talking to people inside those businesses. One, I've done the actual job of talking about Eric Bieniemy by talking with general managers and presidents who have interviewed him and considered him for their head coaching position, and taken notes and shared it with you on the radio and shared it with people on social media. The second part is that we're acting like there's all these ancillary reasons that you hire an NFL coach. The beauty to coaching in the NBA, the beauty to coaching in college, in the NFL, is there's only one agenda. You don't have to recruit. You don't have to worry about boosters. You don't have to do a radio show. You don't have to do a TV show. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to raise money. All you have to do is win. So again, what Nick Wright is saying is, yeah, I know this guy. Again, if Eric Bieniemy is as good as he believes he is, so what you're saying is, okay, Eric Bieniemy is really, really good and gives us a great opportunity to go to a Super Bowl, but we'd rather hire somebody else who's as or less proven simply because he's white. What? And I've said this for, I don't know how long this nonsense started, but let's just say for the better part of 5 years, because it predated COVID. Is this. In the NFL, only one thing matters is winning. And if you think for even 1 second, an owner is going to go like, how many candidates we got? Great. Who gives us the best chance? Hold on. Is he white? Okay, then we'll hire him. Like that doesn't happen. And all you have to do is actually pick up the phone and call any of these GMs who have a job open or who interviewed and go take me through the candidates. What'd you like about this guy? What didn't you like? Right? It's like Brian Flores' lawsuit was just completely nonsensical, right? That he got fired because he's black. Like, your bosses, the whole front office in Miami was black. What are we doing? You know? It's like, you got fired because you were impossible to work with. And maybe you can say, hey, I was right about Tua, but the general manager and director of player personnel and everyone else in the front office decided to draft Tua, and the owner signed off on it. And then Tua has come out and said, you're a bad person. You're a horrible person. And by the way, one of the general managers I talked to was the one who told me the year before Flores got the job in Miami, he was like, you know who's going to be a really good head coach? I think Flores is. As long as he keeps his ego under control. You know, those Patriot guys, they got massive egos because they all think they're Bill Belichick. And that's what happened there. So I love being right. I hate being wrong. I love winning. I hate losing even more. And this is 2 dubs for me. And I would be more than a little bit embarrassed if I'm Nick Wright on doubling down and dying on a hill that everyone else has vacated. It's like Nick is still in protest mode, in COVID mode, and we've all kind of moved on. And the reality is that Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator for the 117th best offense in college football. The head coach, Deshaun Foster, is black. The athletic director, Martin Jarmon, is black. And they both said his services are no longer needed. And we can spin it however we want. He wants to get back to the NFL. Okay. As what? He was getting money from the Commanders. That money's running out. If UCLA wanted to hire him, they would have hired him. Instead, they moved on to another coach. Good luck dying on that hill.